I would like to introduce my friend and mentor, John Weir.
Thank you, Jason. This is old, I guess, old but a little new, and what should I say? Nothing really. It's called It Gets Worse.
Well, thank goodness for that.
Which is not really an ironic title. And it goes like this. Jodie Foster came out at the Golden Globes by saying she wouldn't. It was the opposite of a performative speech act that enacts what it says. Her statement performed what it didn't say, what it refused to say. It was like how you'd come out if you were Magritte. There she is, framed in the TV set or computer screen like an everyday object that is also a work of art, enacting disclosure above a caption that reads, "This is not a disclosure." A surrealist says, "I'm gay," but it's in French and it's a collage and the words are scattered all over the page in the shape of a teapot. If you had been a public figure from the time you were a toddler, she said, maybe you too might value privacy above all else. And what I want to know is not did she come out or not, but what's privacy? It's 1970. And I'm in New Jersey, rural northwestern New Jersey, not Cape May, not the Jersey Shore, not the part of Jersey that's an adjunct of Manhattan, not Camden, the suburbs of Philly. A keg tapped at both ends is what Ben Franklin called New Jersey, anticipating the turnpike. But I'm 11 years old, and I live in the part of the state that's tapped out, the Musconetcong River Valley and the Jersey Highlands, Lebanon Township in the northernmost point of Hunterdon County. These days, Hunterdon County is the 4th richest county in America after the 3 counties that surround the nation's capital. But in 1970, before they finished Highway 78, and it was suddenly a straight shot from Clinton to Canal Street, 53 miles and 49 minutes on the interstate. But in 1970, before Reaganomics and a fast commute, before the yuppies arrived, it was still a depressed dairy farming community in recovery from spoiled milk and dead cows and abandoned grist mills along the banks of the south branch of the Raritan River. Not that there's anything wrong with chicken farmers, though there's nobody meaner than an angry chicken farmer or a disappointed chicken farmer. Okay, I'm a snob, I'm an urban snob, Manhattanish, even at the age of 11. My father works in the city and my mother rides her retired racehorse bareback in the hills behind our house, and on weekends they put on plays in an old music hall in Clinton with their gang of expatriate New Yorkers. But my brother and I go to grade school with poor white people who are all their own cousins. I'm a terrible snob, a little elitist at the age of 11. Maybe that explains what happens next, or maybe not. It's a bright, crisp fall day at Lebanon Township Elementary School on the Bunvale Road, and I'm running for president of the 6th grade. I'm wearing a seersucker suit. It got me elected president of the 4th grade, but that was 2 years ago, and now the pants are too short. They're clam diggers. Why don't I know that? I've also got a crew cut and my hair stands up in front, but not in a fun way. It's 8 a.m. My classmates and I are standing outside the school building waiting for the bell to ring and the day to begin. We're gathered around the big double doors by the boys' gym. The building's long and low and flat and red and white and laid out like a ladder where you climb over 9 years from kindergarten up to 8th grade. Kindergarten down at the south end and 8th grade up at the north. And then you get sent to the high school 10 miles away. Actually, I think the 8th grade rooms are in the middle. But anyway, there's a hierarchy, and 6th graders are almost the big kids. We're standing in a patch of ground covered with small, round, gray stones that make a satisfying crunching sound. The school faces the road, but we're in back, and there's nothing behind us but a big empty field running off to pine trees in the distance. Way down there are a couple of swings and a slide, and we're on the top of a flat, bare hill. Kids are wearing light fall jackets. The cool kids carry their lunches in paper sacks. Some of us still have our third grade lunch pails decorated with scenes from Saturday morning cartoon shows, Underdog, or a Fireball XL5. The air smells like cow shit, and red clay, and library paste, and pencil shavings, and the bubblegum flavored toothpaste scent of my classmates. Somebody's got a transistor radio, and Paul McCartney is singing, "Get back to where you once belonged." I've written a speech that I plan to deliver at the election rally. It's folded in my hand. I've been rehearsing it. I'm nervous and distracted, and I don't notice that a circle is forming around me until somebody calls my name. "Sally," he says. I know that's me. The thing is, I'm a girl. Nobody's called me a fag yet, but I've been Sally for a while because I'm a smug little creep. Because my mother rides her horse sometimes in the fields behind the school. Because I'm pretty. Because I play horsey with my girlfriends down at the kindergarten end during recess. Because when little kids want to say the worst thing about you, little boys and even sometimes little girls, the first thing they do is call you a girl. Unless you are a girl, in which case, why say it? Being a girl is insult enough. "Sally," he says, and I ignore it like always. I'm not big enough or strong enough to hit anybody, and anyway, like Jane Fonda, I'm anti-war. I believe in nonviolent resistance. When an angry dog goes after you, my mother says, "Don't react." So I don't. Anyway, I know the guy. He's Eric. He hits home runs. I let him cheat off my English tests. Then he says, "Sally Faye." Ooh, a twist. A new word. "Sally Faye," he says again, and he pushes me. I'm waiting for it to turn into a joke. It doesn't. The next time he says it, somebody joins him. Then someone else. It's a chant. I'm thinking, whoops, there goes my election. And that's when I notice the circle closing around me. It happens really fast, and suddenly everyone in my 6th grade class is pushing me. Anyway, all the boys, and I bounce off different parts of the circle. It's bumper pool, and I'm the ball. Well, they call me Sally Faye like we're drag queens instead of 11-year-olds. Not just Sally Faye, they try new names, maybe the first time any of us have heard them or said them. Grace notes over the melody line. "Sally Faye, faggot," somebody says. "Sally Faye," then homo, "Sally Faye, gay faggot," and queer. Okay, my name is Weir. What choice do they have? Queer, Weir. The kids who don't call me Sally have always called me Weirdo, and I don't mind it. It's just my name. You know, what's in a name? Weird. Well, weird is an Anglo-Saxon word for destiny or fate, W-Y-R-D. And Feya is Middle English for fairy, or fey, F-A-Y, or fey, F-E-Y, from the Anglo-Saxon feya, meaning fated to die soon. A faggot is a bundle of sticks thrown on a pyre to burn witches, and faggoting is a decorator's term for something you do with lace. Queer is Germanic from the root thwr, meaning thwart. So I'm twisted, thwarted and thwarting. Fairy-like but fateful, not just silly but lethal, not just deadly but fated to die, kindling for fire, powerful and burning, but also inconsequential, dainty as threads pulled tight around delicate lace. And I'm the star. That's what's so confusing. Trapped in their circle, surrounded and alone, I'm rejected and central. And here is the beginning of my lifelong inability to tell the difference between pain and attention. From that day, stop the laughter. From that day, I'm the faggot. Everybody knows or wants to know, "What makes you such a fag?" they ask me, on the playground, on the school bus, on the way from one classroom to another. "Why are you a fag? What's it like to be a fag?" And I'm like, "Well, you tell me, because you knew before I did." Privacy? I never had any privacy. Everyone was naming me from the time I was 11. It was everybody's business but mine, except it was also a secret. No one could ever discuss it. No adult, anyway. Certainly they saw it. I won't mention dodgeball. In 8th grade music class, we're singing Home on the Range. Our music teacher, Mrs. Westman, is a giant German woman who looks like a Wagnerian soprano, and she hands out lyrics on mimeograph sheets Then she puts on a sing-along record on the phonograph. She runs her finger over the needle with a scratching, popping sound and drops the stylus into the groove. And she raises her hand to conduct. At the refrain, home, home on the range, the class turns to me and sings, home, oh, on the range. The whole class turns to me and sings, home, oh, on the range. And I'm like, Mrs. Westman, help me. Adults are no help. They were not just no help. They called me a faggot too. Everybody is what I'm saying. Everyone I knew and everywhere I went within 20 miles of my grade school and then my high school knew I was a faggot and called me a faggot. And if they didn't know I was a faggot, it was only a matter of time before somebody told them. And it was just amazing to watch them switch from liking you to their appalled discovery that you were scum. Un-American, a communist probably, a pervert, a freak. My friends' fathers, 40-year-old men, would make jokes about staying away from me, a 12-year-old, a 14-year-old, because who knew what I would want to do to them? I wrote this down once and published it and tried to be low-key about it and state the facts and not to interpret or ask for sympathy and just say, like, what happened. But I'm not sure that even other gay men got it. Some of them were like, oh, this is just your standard coming out story, no big deal. And Jodie Foster says, I've always already been out, and it's no big deal. But it was like a light was shining on me all the time, a spotlight. And I like to be the center of attention. And I give away my secrets before anyone can tell them. But I was irresistible, and I represented shame, and I knew what everybody's face looked like, contorted with rage. It was kind of a privilege, I guess, secret knowledge in high school. North Hunterdon Regional High School in Annandale, New Jersey. Don't send your children there. Boys, especially boys, were eager to walk up to me and show me their out-of-control rage. It wasn't physical abuse exactly. I mean, I had a long scarf, a macrame scarf that my mother made, and it dragged nearly to the ground, and kids would grab me in the hall and push me up against the lockers and wrap the scarf around my neck and choke me and call me a faggot, but nobody punched me. They threw chairs at me in the cafeteria, but the scary thing, scary because it was such an intimate thing, was guys I didn't even know, whose names I couldn't tell you now, would walk up to me and scream at me with their fists clenched and their faces red as if their veins were going to burst. And I caused it. I made them angry. It was my fault. You know, and I'm not asking you to hold me. I'm saying this is the diagnosis. I was the thing that made them. You know, much later in New York City for a while, all my friends were therapists, shrinks, and they were all forever getting in touch with their anger. And they'd say, I don't think you're in touch with your anger. And I was like, oh, I've been in touch with anger. I'm the source of anger. And I knew I caused it. And I didn't know why. And it happened to me all the time, all day long in high school, from the time I got on the school bus at 8:30 in the morning until I got off the late bus after play practice at 6:30 at night. 1 or 5 or 12 or 20 people were following me around and calling me a faggot. And I was so ashamed. And thank God no one ever asked me. If any adult had ever actually asked me how I felt about being called a fag all day long, I would have been, oh my God, I would have died. And the problem was mostly, even in high school, I was still a girl. In high school, the choir director, I'll call him Mr. Disney. He told me in front of everyone, he interrupted class and said, you know, he had a low resonant voice, you walk like a girl. He was a choir director, but it wasn't choir. It was the performing arts team. Our high school was overcrowded in 1975, and students were grouped into teams, which basically meant that 50 of us met each day in the choir room waiting for our teachers to decide what to do with us. And one thing they decided one day was to fix my walk. Like a girl, Mr. Disney says, looking at me. Everyone laughs. I laugh. Mr. Disney is what you picture when you hear the words tall, dark, and handsome. He was maybe 30 years old and a smooth dude and funny and smart, younger than most of my other teachers, and cool. You could tell he probably once smoked pot. And I guess I had a crush on him. And he said, really, you do? And I nod. I'm like, I know. Help me. Please help me not be a girl. And he turns to the room and says, somebody get up and show him how he walks. Everybody I know was in this room. my best girlfriends, my best boyfriends, my brother, my brother's girlfriend, 40 of us maybe. It's the drama club, basically, the music and drama club. Everybody there is probably a fag, but I'm the faggot of all fags. And a bunch of guys raise their hands and they're like, oh, let me do his walk, let me do his walk. Yeah, I'll do his walk, call on me. And Mr. Disney picks Mike. Mike, who's a greaser. I'm not saying I don't mock people too. I'm a vicious mocker. You know, high school is hell. The greasers come from Califon, and it isn't clear that they ever got over Elvis. Mike's hair is big in front and slicked into a duck's ass in back. For spring concert last year, he wore a leisure suit and carried a mic and sang in a loud, flat voice. Does anyone really know what time it is? The Chicago song. He was Andy Kaufman, ahead of his time. If he'd waited 5 years, he'd have a sitcom. But it's 1975 in Annandale, New Jersey, and he goes to the front of the room and walks back and forth, doing me, earnestly and kind of sweetly, while my friends call out abuse. Swish your hips, they say. Dangle your wrists, they're telling him. Mr. Disney isn't happy. That's not it, he says. And Mike sits down, and Mr. Disney takes over. He comes up to me and says, "You're not Cher," putting his hand on my shoulder. He's not mocking. He doesn't want me to get hurt. I'm being protected. "Don't be Cher because you're not," he says, in the same tone in which like white liberals go to the inner city and tell the kids that there's somebody. You're not Cher. "Cher walks like this," he tells me, "and so do you." He says it mournfully, actually, "and so do you." And then he walks back and forth across the front of the choir room in front of all my friends and swings his hips from side to side and flaps his arms and waddles like he's part duck, part Mae West. And nobody laughs. We're stunned by the likeness. And then he gets me in front of the room and he says, "Now you do it." So I walk. I go from one side of the big room to the other, from the big double doors to the grand piano and back twice. "Help him out, people," Mr. Disney says. "What's he doing wrong? Tell him." And my friends tell me. I walk back and forth while they make suggestions. They tell me to drop my arms and square my hips. After a while, Mr. Disney stops them and he looks at me and says, "Watch me, this is how a man walks." And he does a big circle around the room. It's a tiered and carpeted classroom. And he goes up one side and across the back and down the other side, showing me how to walk. And then he says, "Now follow me." And again, he circles the room and I go behind him trying to do what he does. And we keep circling the room until the bell rings and it's time to go. After that, Mr. Disney and some other teachers institute like a John Weir reclamation project. They form a committee to save me from being a girl. Apparently I lisp, so they send me to the speech therapist. They pull me out of gym class, thank God, and send me instead to the weight room, where I have to ask the members of the football team to spot me. And I mean, would you send your Jewish kid to Goebbels for moral support? I go for pep talks to the head guidance counselor, who happens also to be the football coach. And I see the school psychologist in a little house made of wood that the shop kids built next to the gym. The speech therapist, Mrs. Reed, sits across from me at her desk and tries to help me make a better S. She's got a picture book and she spins it around to face me, points at the page. "What's that?" I say, "Snake." "Tongue behind your teeth," she says, wiggling her tongue across her lips and drawing it to the roof of her mouth. I do the same. We're darting our tongues like serpents. Then she points at the next picture. "Sandwich." "Good," she says, although I can't hear the difference. "What kind of sandwich? Is there meat? Is there meat on that sandwich?" "Mrs. Reed, I'm a vegetarian." She frowns. "Salami." "Good, good. Now, put it all together. The snake eats the salami sandwich." "Very good," she says. The school psychologist is an undergrad from Fairleigh Dickinson University. Fairly ridiculous. With love beads and a beard like Allen Ginsberg's. I think I'm his senior project. His name is Barlow, and he's into transactional therapy, which means I spend our sessions shifting between two different chairs and having a conversation with myself. In one chair, I'm the good boy, and in the other one, I'm the dog boy. Barlow has a clipboard and a ponytail, and as we speak, he ultimately tugs at his hair and takes notes. "How do you feel about your mother?" I should answer as the good boy? Yeah, you're the good boy. "My mom's okay." He writes that down. "What would the dog boy say?" "Be the dog boy." And he points at the other chair. My education in becoming a man involves scenes that would play well in a Jeff Stryker video. Tough guys stand over me in the weight room and say, "Push it, faggot." Older men want me as their dog. Even women wag their tongues at me. I move to the other chair. I'm the dog boy now. Barlow smiles. Welcome, dog boy. Tell me about your mother. I lean forward because I have this idea that a dog boy would probably lean forward. Well, she's okay. He's disappointed, but our time's up. I head to the guidance department to see the football coach. Reaching him means walking through the mall, a huge central hallway connecting the old and new sides of the building, where everyone hangs out. It's got the cafeteria on one side and the library on the other, and the walls are lined with students in their cliques, jocks, cheerleaders, and brains. And I have to walk through the mall like 6 times a day. Everybody does, and each group calls me a fag as I walk past. Greasers, fag. Freaks, faggity fag. AV nerds, AV nerds. I'm an object of derision, even to the AV nerds. Fag. The farmers, for whom I have contempt. Girly fag. The jocks, fag. Cheerleaders, don't be so mean to the fag. Brains. I wonder how come he's such a fag. The football coach / guidance counselor is a compact, cheerful guy with his shirt sleeves rolled up above his biceps and a bristly mustache. He bangs me on the shoulder and says, "How's it hanging?" Is he asking me about my testicles? Is that what makes him a man? In health class, which is taught by the gym teacher who also runs the weight room, I learn what makes you a gay man. A gay man is someone in diapers. Homosexuals, the teacher says, are people who, because of the abnormality of their anus, like to put stuff up in there. It wears out their sphincter by the time they're 20, after which they gotta wear diapers because they got the constant runs. And I'm like, are you kidding? Put something in my anus? Oh my God! I mean, I know I walk funny, but am I gonna have to wear diapers? The thing is, I want to be an actor. That's why it's okay with me that everyone is helping me not be a girl. I'm walking down the hall and Mr. Disney will suddenly be behind me and just over my shoulder and he'll say, "Watch those hips." And if I want to be an actor, I have to be a man. And if I want to be a man, I can't be wearing diapers. And then in my sophomore year, I'm in a one-act play, which is very cool because I get to be the sensitive boy who just wants to do something real. The play's called Impromptu. It's absurdist and ripped off from Pirandello, and it's about 4 actors, 2 men and 2 women, who get hired to be in a play, except there isn't a play, and they haven't rehearsed, and they're sent on stage by an unseen stage manager who's told them not to leave the stage until something real happens. So they're trapped in the light, without any lines, and they fight about what to do. How should they act? What kind of play are they in? It's not supposed to be an imitation of life, I get to say. It's supposed to be life. I'm anguished. I have these little anguished monologues. My parents don't love me. It's very fun. I can see myself being led into a room full of people, I say. They laugh and tell me to dance. I don't know what to do. Why do I want to cry? That's one of my lines. Why are we here? Why are you here? These are my actual lines. And then I have to turn to the audience and ask them, who are you? Why are you here? And then I say, I have nothing to give you except myself, and that doesn't seem to be enough. That's my big line that I have to address directly to the audience. I think I'm Jane Fonda in Clute. She has all these monologues that she improvised about her feelings and about what it's like to be looked at by men, and she's clearly acting, but also heart-shatteringly real, and that's what I want to be. I want to tell the truth about myself from a safe distance, behind the mask of character, exposed but protected by artifice and theatrical convention, which is not what I'm thinking the day we do the play at an assembly for the freshman class. I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm nervous, and my mom's here. And my drama teacher, they're friends. There are 700 freshmen, a huge class, the largest in the school. And while I'm standing backstage waiting for the play to start, I can hear the guys in the first 2 rows making fart jokes and snapping their bubble gum. Then we're on. The first few beats are done in the dark. We're the actors saying, where are the lights? Why is it dark? What does the stage manager want? Then the lights come up suddenly and we can be seen. And we can see into the house. Actors are supposed to know how to create privacy for themselves, but I haven't learned how to do that yet. And I'm aware of the audience, who, after all, I have to address directly because it's that kind of play. There's no fourth wall. I spot my mother in the back under the exit light, standing with a drama teacher against the doors that lead to the lobby where they keep sports trophies in glass cases. My first line after the lights come up is, "It's worse than it was before." And a kid in the front row says, "Shut up, faggot." Well, this is familiar. Everybody hears. I'm thinking I'm safe because I'm in a play. I'm not me. I'm an actor named Tony trying to do something real. And this isn't my life, unlike the actors we're playing. We've rehearsed and we keep going on with the play. And then another kid in the front row says, "Gay boy." And the kids in the audience are whispering and giggling. It spreads from the front row to the next few rows behind it and then all the way to the back of the audience. And then because the auditorium's only half full, it stops and there's a big empty space and then my mother. Then a guy stands up and says, "What makes you such a faggot?" We're still doing the play. All the guys are laughing in the front row, and the girls start laughing too, and somebody says, "Queer bait," and "gay boy," and they start to shout and laugh and chant, and it goes like that, and now we can't hear ourselves on stage anymore, but we keep doing the play. I'm wondering if my drama teacher will interrupt, or maybe somebody will shut down the lights. The other actors, my friends from the performing arts team on stage, have this look in their eyes like, I guess we should keep going. But there's so much noise, all the guys in the front row now are standing, the kids behind them are yelling, the ones who aren't shouting are laughing, and then I have to cross down stage and address them. You know, when the actors in the play, they say, "This is like a dream." Those are our lines. We tell each other that we feel like we're in one of those dreams, bad actor dreams. And in a play about a play that's like a dream, I cross down to the apron, feeling like I'm in a dream, 2 dreams, maybe 3. I'm playing an actor who wants to be real and not an actor, and I'm a kid who wants to be an actor because I get to talk about, I think acting is where I'll get to talk about what it's like to be constantly called a fag. I don't think acting is making things up. I think it's being myself, and this is my confession, posing as Tony, who doesn't want to pose, and I walk to the apron, and I look at the audience, and I say, "I have nothing to give except myself, and that doesn't seem to be enough." That's my actual line. I wish I were inventing this. The guy who wrote the play is dead now. He's a guy named, a gay guy named Tad Moselle. He won a Pulitzer Prize, and he wrote this play when he was a student at Yale in 1949, none of which I know. What I know is I just told the whole freshman class and my mother that I have nothing to give except myself. I have to really yell to be heard, too, and I'm yelling. And for a second, everyone is quiet. We've crossed the line from art into life, and maybe everyone in the room is savoring the transition. A real moment is taking place in somebody's actual life in the guise of a performance about people searching for real moments in their actual lives. The levels of irony are way complex. 20 years from now, I'll be busy like deconstructing them. But at the moment, my main concern is my body, or rather getting out of it. I want to be outside myself. I don't mean high on sex or drugs or God, or it's not transcendence I want, but expedience, like when you're about to be in a car crash and the smart thing is not to be in your body when it happens. So I'm out of range, swinging from the arc lights in the space above my head at the moment of impact. Looking down, I can see myself mounted on stage, arms wide, neck bared, face lit, surrounded like a condemned man on a gallows platform and looming over the crowd. Any minute now I'm thinking somebody's going to kill the lights, the drama teacher will stop the show, but they let me dangle. I'm hanging in 2 places, trapped in my body and floating above it, being and leaving myself. I'm thinking, there's my gay body. It's my first postmodern moment. My classmates aren't just hectoring me, worse, they're turning me French. I'm a body caught in a contact zone, the site where 715-year-olds discover their power. I'm the symbol of their fear and their strength. And look at me, skinny, doughy, white boy, 15 years old, dressed for a high school play, wearing grease paint and powder, eyeshadow, eyeliner, lip liner, and rouge, straining and hot under the stage lights, bent forward, trying to connect. And look at them, red-faced, yelling, "Die, faggot." I'm thinking, aren't they tacky? I'm thinking chicken farmers, they're all their own cousins. That's how I fight back. I'm critiquing them. Maybe that's what gay means, critic, diapered critic. And I mean, listen, I had friends. I had plenty of friends. I don't want to say victim, 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 you know, or how tragic. I was a vicious mocker of a 15-year-old myself. I had just discovered irony. And I shared it with everyone. I don't want to say I was incapable of cruelty or pointed or pointless abuse. Plus, I thought I was smarter than everyone else. And I let them know it, and I had better teeth, and my father worked in New York. I must have been an intolerable little snob for some people. But the thing was, no one mentioned it. Tony walks off the stage before the play's over, and as soon as I went through the door on the side of the stage that led to the hall, they stopped yelling, and the play ended the way plays do, with actors talking and the audience quiet. And out in the hall, it was like it hadn't happened. Because from that point forward, no one ever said a word to me about it. No one. Not a word. This big thing in my life took place in front of everyone I cared about. And now they all knew my secret. They all knew what I was. I had nothing to hide or confide. I was the shameful secret you repeat in order to have one. Secrets need to be shared. And it was apparently none of my business.
Bravo!